Welcome everyone to the end of the year and thus the whole end of year content deal. I'll be talking about a couple of my favourite games, but dear audience, how can one appreciate the glory of a solid game if one cannot appreciate the tragedy of a bad one? I'm so sorry that my voice is fucked today. For all you wise asses, this is my personal list. You're totally entitled to like these games. You know, it's not my fault if you're masochistic to the point of delusion. Some of these have been already covered in previous videos, and in those cases I'm going to link those below so you can try and pinpoint the moment I started dying on the inside while playing these. Oh, and a quick dishonorable mention to the latest Nancy Drew game. It's not the worst stuff I played, but given that you had a formula that worked for 2 decades and all you had to do is just not take the good parts of the franchise and just, snap them over your knee, I mean, you didn't have a lot that you had to do, but you kind of didn't do a lot with it. But hey, progress marches on one destroyed childhood-defining series at a time. Well, we're going to take things from one bad mystery game to an even worse one, with number 5. Sinking City, more like stinking shitty, badum-tish. In this one, you're an older dude who's been psychically compelled to visit a seaside town, which would make for a lovely seaside town if it weren't for all the eldritch abominations and xenophobic monkey and fish people. Yes, you can tell from Sinking City that something might be just a little off-kilter. See, the thing is, mystery games tend to drip feed you for a bloody reason. What's worse is that the handful of mysteries tend to boil down to Lovecraft shit happens. Yes, that makes sense, this is a Lovecraft game, but that kind of undermines the whole use your wits to figure this thing out that tends to make up the entire genre of all mystery fiction. The other thing you can do is combat, even though I don't know why, because it's a pretty miserable affair. Horrific eldritch things show up, you shoot them. I mean, yeah, whatever. Oh, except if an enemy combatant stands behind a column, then your guess is as good as mine if it bugs out, or if our enemy is just not doing the common courtesy of reacting to all the bullets that I'm shooting at its chest, and nowhere near the column, you lower-class fish-faced twat. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I suppose by that logic, I was pretty insane playing Sinking City for as long as I did, expecting it to get any better. In conclusion, Sinking City, more like stinking shitty, and no, I'm not insane, so you better laugh at that, you fuck. But now's the time to talk about the one game in the list that people are probably going to get upset about, because even though it was competent, it was a shit idea and was boring, and therefore I'm going to give it number 4 on this list to Rage 2. If there's one thing that's worse than a game that's ambitious that fucks up, it's a game that's just boring as shit and has nothing interesting whatsoever. I mean, there's many metrics on which to judge a game these days, and it's almost impressive to find a game that's as boring as this. Rage 2 feels like someone took the standard AAA open world formula of your Ubisoft persuasion and bleached out all the interesting stuff. The original Rage was by no means a masterpiece, but it had insane gut-punch combat that felt fucking awesome. I don't like indulging in such terms, but nothing feels more appropriate than calling this the ultimate male power fantasy. Getting to see combatants awkwardly and drunkenly stumble over as they realize that my shotgun just, fucked their entire physical being up. Rage 2, meanwhile, just kinda skipped that, and in doing so removed one of the only things that I liked about the franchise. I have heard some people say, like, oh yeah, about 20 hours in you might be able to get this, but I mean, I was bored and I was confused and I was dying and like, I couldn't be fucked. I mean, I tried to make my own fun. I found an enemy vehicle and shot at them for like an hour, stopping every so often to do repairs until my car's AI said, we're out of bullets. And I had to just let it go over the horizon. And I'd be spending an hour following it around and chipping at its health. So fuck that. Rage 2 might get better later on, but here's the thing. I don't want to fucking waste any more of my life just playing this boring as shit game, so, goodbye. But for the next one, we're just heading into the no asterisk zone. There's no qualifiers, there's no ifs or buts, this game was just a straight up flop. For Worst Game the Third, I present Crackdown the Third, or rather, Turd. I suppose there is one good thing about Crackdown 3. It shows that not everyone is obsessed with graphics. How gratifying to see the Crackdown fandom come out of the woodwork to combat the march of progress. When fans saw the low scores, they cried, "But you're not judging Crackdown 3 by the standards set by its predecessor, a game that I will remind people came out in 2010. Which in and of itself is hilarious because it pales into comparison to the first GTA game that I played, which was GTA Ballad of Gay Tony that came out in 2009. Crackdown 3 looked crap, played crap, and as a bonus for yours truly, it had more bugs than the movie Ants. Enemies that slide in and lightly graze a barricade immediately blow up. I got killed by enemies I couldn't see. And in one case I wasn't able to complete a mission because some of the targets that I had to kill to beat the mission didn't bother to spawn in. Also, the radio announcers in your head can just piss off with their sweet nothing garbage they repeatedly force down your ear holes. Crackdown 3 is a goddamn achievement in garbage. This is a game with Terry Crews. This is likely everybody's first instance of using Game Pass, which is one of the biggest innovations in game distribution in recent memory. And because it was one of the first games that everybody got, they would be able to access it as a free trial. It's a free game with Terry Crews in it, and it's a sequel to a beloved franchise. And yet somehow they fucked this entire thing up, for fuck's sake. Moving on, I'll just say that some people might not count my number one as like officially the worst game for whatever dumb technical reasons. So for many of you, this will be the official entry for the worst game of the year. But truth be told, either are absolutely deserving of that title. So let's just dive into the rotting corpse of a game that is left alive. I was pretty heartsick when I realized we weren't going to get any more Metal Gear Solid. And then several months later, I was physically sick when I played a demo of that thing that Konami shat out all over major storefronts and named Metal Gear Survive. The point is, I was emotionally vulnerable and enthusiastic to give money to a company that wasn't as backwards arse as Konami, and that's when I spied Square Enix's E3 presentation that included a very Metal Gear Solid 5 looking game. Well, it must be a legitimately good game, I thought. It's being published by Square Enix, and they do Life is Strange and other stuff that I know. They must know what they're doing. Well, admittedly, I probably should have acknowledged the fact that they released The Quiet Man as a bit of a warning sign. While most games that wear the stealth action genre give you a choice of stealth and action, Left Alive takes an innovative approach of making both tactics equally ineffective and miserable. Want to action shit up? Here's like 6 bullets to take on 5 enemies, none of which can be killed in one shot, even with a headshot. Would you like to try stealth? How about you try eating shit while you try and walk from one end of the street to the other with virtually no cover within 20 meters of the enemy? I suppose that it is balanced somewhat by the fact that you can get close enough to feel up the enemy before they'll bloody hear you, presumably because I got 10 centimeter thick skulls, which, I mean, that would explain the batshit AI. Oh, and yeah, that would also explain why this stealth game requires you to hit an enemy over the head 5 bloody times before they pass out, for fuck's sake. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention the crafting system that lets you craft Molotov cocktails so effective that you can set a whole group on fire, screaming in pain and agony before they abruptly stop being on fire and start turning your entire corporeal being into Swiss motherfucking cheese. Perhaps most terrifying is all these criticisms I am leveling are not late game fuck rounds. Oh no, I did not persist that long. I stopped about 90 minutes in. The shit that they're pulling here essentially is what most video games would consider the tutorial level. This game fucking earns its stripes as a terrible game of the year, but it's also the third worst I've ever experienced in my bloody life. The second, for those who are interested, is a Young Justice game that looked at best passable at times but had horrific graphics, like 2 songs, AI that literally locked itself out of the level, gameplay that didn't explain itself, and unfolded the most beige fucking story in existence. And I say that because that's what makes this, the worst game of the year, so special. I did, in fact, in this very year, manage to find a game that I consider the least enjoyable I've ever played in my life. It not only shat on games, but all of modern, current generation culture in just a childish shithead of idea of gaining some kind of clout with millennials, too obsessed with memes to be able to convert oxygen and sugar into the necessary chemical energy to fucking be alive. I talk, of course, about the fucking plague on anything fun, anything enjoyable. That is Clive Palmer, Humble Meat Merchant. So some people will protest this one. Oh, it's Australian specific. We didn't get it outside of Australia. You don't have to brag about the fact that you didn't play this. Oh, it's a mobile game. Oh, but you all have phones, don't you? Ha ha, shut up, Bethesda, you Winnie the Pooh lovers. But perhaps the most reasonable criticism is the issue that I'm giving airtime to an idiotic second-rate bleached-out Donald Trump, one who has the approximate amount of political sway that the racist Tangerine should have gotten. There is the old saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity, but I think if you were eating all of modern culture in one sitting, perhaps not too hard for someone so overweight that his chin is a mere concept, and then asking some underlings to mould the resulting shit into a rounded square to fit right onto the App Store, and if you think just getting this attention is going to in any way be positive, then you don't fucking understand anything. But I will just say at this point that I did make a video in which I played this game for 40 minutes, and I'm going to suggest that you watch it, firstly because it's YouTube, I'm supposed to ask for that. Secondly, you don't have to support this wank by downloading the game. And 3, it's wank. I wouldn't suggest wasting the 5 seconds it might take to download this game. Now, some of you might be reeling from the fact that I just fat-shamed someone. Ooh, I'm a very, very bad person. But rest assured, Clive Palmer considers his weight important. After all, him mentioning that he's lost some weight is a lyric in one of the songs of this game. And I can assure you that both these songs are garbage. Yes, there's only fucking 2 of them. The first is a rip-off, parody, which is totally not a legal wink wink, of Culture Club's Karma Chameleon, in which the singers give Clive Palmer a musical hand job and extol the virtue of his amassed fortunes. It's almost as if he hasn't been on the internet because, spoiler, the internet fucking hates rich people. The other song doesn't parody a specific popular song, but more parodies musical ballads generally, and the concept that Clive Palmer might have any kind of redeeming qualities as a politician or just as a human being. Now, some people think it's not a fair review unless I list a positive, maybe even some people that aren't Clive Palmer or in Clive Palmer's legal team. So let's just say I know for a fact that it takes a lot of work to make a platformer feel user-friendly, which I suppose is why this game didn't fucking bother and instead focused on its shit music in which the singers can't even keep themselves from bursting into laughter at the end of the thing and didn't think to retake it. I'm a musician, I'm upset about this. And also making all these lovely politicians and people in Australian culture into cockroaches and the like. Oh yes, very mature, Clive. See me after class. In conclusion, Clive Palmer made the worst game of the fucking year and of my entire fucking life. It's an insult to modern culture as a whole, comparable only to his body's insult to chins everywhere. Oh Clive, this was truly an impactful game, even if it was the impact of me slamming my head into a wall to remove the 40-minute experience from my brain.